Experts recommend that you always should seem enthusiastic in your videos, but that's an easy task indeed when you're about to strap on an all-original early 1960 Gibson ES-335, which is actually nothing short of one of the best guitars I've ever came across. The ES-335 TD was introduced in February 1958. ES stands for Electric Spanish. 335 was the original price of guitar and case. T and D used to indicate the Finland body double pickup version, but were dropped as there were no version other than that. A solid block of maple runs through the center of the body, surrounded by two hollow side wings, intended to add a hint of acoustic resonance. The concept of a semi-acoustic guitar with a center block of solid wood was first introduced in 1940 with the prototype The Log, built by Les Paul himself, but here we have a much more sophisticated construction technique. The marriage between the benefits of a solid body guitar and the traditional archtop was an immediate commercial success. The symmetric rounded cutaways received the affectionate nickname of Mickey Mouse ears. The 335 came in sunburst or in a rare optional natural finish. By 1960, the natural finish was phased out and a cherry red color was offered instead. By mid-1962, the fretboard's dot markers were replaced with a small block inlays, and more changes were introduced. From mid to late 60s, more cost-cutting measures and generally unwelcome changes were introduced, such as necks with a narrower nut width and a trapeze tailpiece typically associated with hollow bodies. The fretboard's dots are hence used to mark a dividing line after the more desirable production of the early years. So the highly regarded 335s from the 50s and the early 60s are generally referred to as dot necks. This particular dot neck is part of the collection of my beloved friend Gianni Bucci. It is now cherished by his family and his son Silvio, who was so kind to lend it to me. Gianni got this guitar for a very low price in 1975 from the original owner, Maestro Panza, a professional musician working on cruise ships, who bought the guitar in Venezuela. He was so protective over his instrument that he even bought a spare switch and a spare couple of strap buttons. instrument is all original, down to the very last screw, including the frets that now show relevant players' wear. In the 50s, the buttons of the tuners were made of celluloid, so they are biodegradable and tend to shrink and even crumble over time. This guitar still sports the desirable 1959 features, such as a long pickguard, much shorter on later models, and a wide, medium chunky neck. Of course, it has a couple of terrific sounding PF pickups. You can barely read "Made in the USA" stamped in small lettering on the back of the headstock, which is a quite rare feature on a Gibson from the 50s and the early 60s, and indicates that this was an export model to sell outside of the USA on the foreign market. There are still so many more interesting features to talk about and discover on this fabulous guitar, so don't miss the next episode, as I will remain on the same subject. If you are interested, subscribe my channel and turn on notification for a prompt update.